Welcome to Midnight Confessions, where true horror stories come alive. Subscribe for spine-chilling tales that will haunt your nights. Share in the comments where you're watching from.
Let's start the story. I relive that Easter night every time I close my eyes. Mary's screams still echo in my head, tearing through the silence. Kyle's face haunts me too, not twisted in cruelty like before, but frozen in sheer terror. People say blood ties keep you safe, that family is all you can trust. But for me, family was the curse that rotted my life from the inside. And the legacy of what I did will follow me into the grave. My name is Aspen, though most people shorten it to ASP. I grew up in a quiet Pennsylvania town where the streets looked clean, neighbors smiled with fake kindness, and rumors spread quicker than wildfire. On the outside, my family looked normal. My father, James, worked endless hours fixing cars in a small garage. My mother, Claire, never missed a chance to keep the house spotless, every spoon and picture frame in perfect place. And then there was Riley, my older brother. Riley wasn't just family. He was my shield, my best friend. 2 years older, braver, louder, always stepping into the fire so I didn't have to. When I got in trouble, he took the blame. When kids tried to mess with me, he stood in front of me, fists clenched, jaw set. Riley was my world. But beneath it all, there was a sickness in our home. That sickness was my mother's hatred for him. To strangers, Claire was a perfect housewife, polite, graceful, always smiling. But inside those walls, her smile sharpened into knives. She tore into Riley daily. His posture at the table, his voice, his grades, nothing escaped her venom. She treated me differently, like I was porcelain she wanted to display. That fake sweetness made my stomach twist. Dad tried to step in, asking her to ease up, but her words always came back sharper. And Riley, he just swallowed it. He'd laugh it off, roll his eyes. But when it was just the two of us, I saw it. His smile would crack. His voice would drop to a whisper. "I don't think she ever wanted me," he said once. And that broke me. Still, he never let the darkness win. Riley filled our home with laughter. Until the night he disappeared. It was late October. The air carried that smoky scent of burning leaves, and the wind scraped its claws against our windows. After dinner, Riley slipped on his jacket, saying he was meeting a friend. He never came back. The next morning, I woke to the sound of something I had never heard before. My father sobbing. I stumbled downstairs to find him collapsed on the couch, face buried in his hands, shaking with grief. My mother sat beside him, whispering words I couldn't make out. When Dad looked up, his eyes were swollen and red. His voice cracked. "Riley's gone." My heart stopped. "What do you mean gone?" "He probably stayed over at Jake's." Dad shook his head. "We checked. He never made it there. Police came this morning, they're looking for him." I turned to Mom, searching for some comfort. But her eyes were dry. Cold. "He probably ran away," she muttered. "Claire." Dad snapped. His voice was raw. "What else would you call it?" she hissed back. "He's reckless. Always has been." I felt my chest crush inward. My throat burned as I whispered, he wouldn't leave me. Not without a word. But weeks turned into months. Missing flyers with Riley's face fluttered on telephone poles. Police stopped calling. The search faded. And our home fell into silence. Dad numbed himself with bottles in the garage. I cried until sleep claimed me. And my mother? She seemed lighter. As if a burden had been lifted. She smiled more. Hummed while she cleaned. It made my skin crawl. Then, one freezing December night, the house grew too quiet. My room felt heavy, the air sharp and cold. I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, listening to my heartbeat thud in my ears. Then I heard it. Footsteps. A sudden flash of light cut through my room, and my chest tightened as if the air had turned solid. I sat up slowly, eyes straining into the shadows. Then it came, laughter. Low. Mocking. "Got you," a voice whispered. Every drop of blood in me froze. I knew that voice. "Riley," I breathed. He stood at the edge of my bed, his messy hair framing a grin too wide, too familiar. My heart ached seeing him. Stumbling forward, I nearly knocked over my lamp. "Where have you been? Do you even know how terrified we were? Do you know?" But his laughter cut through me. Not the laugh I grew up with. This one was fractured, sharp, like glass cracking under weight. "Come on, ASP," he said, tilting his head unnaturally. "Let's play in Mom and Dad's room." That was wrong. We never played there. Still, I missed him too much to question it. Maybe it was really him. Maybe I was dreaming. We rushed down the hall, and I threw myself onto my parents' bed. Mom! Dad! Look, it's Riley. He came back. My dad sat up groggy, rubbing his eyes. Aspen, what are you talking about? No one's there. Panic surged. I spun, pointing frantically. He's right here. Can't you see him? Dad's face twisted, breaking. He pulled me into his arms, whispering, "Sweetheart, it's just a dream. I miss him too." But Mom wasn't moving. She wasn't even looking at me. Her eyes were locked on Riley, her face drained white, her lips trembling as if she'd seen a monster. "You see him?" I hissed, desperate. "You see him, don't you?" Riley's grin split wider, too wide, tearing his face into something inhuman. His teeth blackened, jagged. His eyes burned red, pupils lost in shadow. And then he sat, in that exact spot on the bed. The exact night. The exact hour. Mom let out a broken sob, because that was the place, that was the night, she killed him. The realization gutted me. The way she acted after he vanished. The strange relief. The truth clawed its way into my brain. "Mom," I whispered, voice cracking. "What did you do?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Riley's voice, deeper now, colder than the grave, filled the room. "Now, she sees me too." And then, he vanished. After that night, life rotted. Dad never uncovered the truth, but suspicion poisoned him. Their marriage crumbled into silence, the house splitting into cold war zones of grief. I carried the weight of it, the knowledge my mother stole Riley from me. I hated her. But hatred was nothing compared to the truth. Riley hadn't left. Some nights, I woke to soft footsteps in the hallway. A whispering laugh outside my door. A shadow lingering, waiting. He wasn't just haunting her. He was haunting me. And now, in my 20s, death no longer feels distant. It feels near, pressing against the walls, listening, waiting for me to open the door. Let's start the story. My name is Luna, I'm 23 years old, and I grew up in what was supposed to be a safe, quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. My older brother, Leo, is 26. For as long as I can remember, he's been my shield, my anchor. Ever since our parents' divorce when I was 8, Leo stepped into a role no brother should have had to play, half sibling, half guardian. Mom was barely home, working endless shifts at the hospital, and Dad, well, he built himself a new family somewhere else. That left just the two of us, raising each other in ways children never should. Leo always joked that he and I were never meant to be separate. God tried to make one soul but split it into two by mistake. "You and I are just halves of the same error, Luna." I'd laugh with him, but behind his crooked grin, there was a weight in his words that felt disturbingly true. We survived high school that way, together. Through fake friends, through loneliness, through the sting of abandonment. He steadied me when I felt like I was drowning, and I kept him from losing himself to anger. That's why what happened that summer still gnaws at me like a festering wound I can't close. It started with a road trip. Leo had been saving every dollar he could from his job at the auto shop, and I had just come out of a miserable year in college, where I felt like a ghost drifting through hallways that never wanted me there. He suggested we just leave. "Let's drive until the car decides it's done," he said. And of course I said yes. I always said yes to Leo. For a week, it was perfect. Just the two of us, cheap motels that reeked of bleach and cigarettes, bitter diner coffee at midnight, and endless conversations about who we could be if the world wasn't so cruel. But then came Boise. That night, our lives fractured in a way I can never explain. It was just past midnight when we pulled into a desolate gas station. Only 2 flickering lamps lit the cracked pavement, and the whole lot buzzed with the sound of dying electricity. I went inside to grab snacks, leaving Leo by the car. When I came back out, my heart froze, but he wasn't alone. Across the lot stood another man. No, not just a man. Another Leo. Not similar. Not a look-alike. Him. The same scar along his jawline, the same crooked nose from when he broke it in middle school, the same way his shoulders tensed as if he carried a lifetime of anger. They weren't just alike, they were mirrored. 2 Leos, locked in a silent face-off under that buzzing yellow light. I stood frozen, chips in one hand, water bottle in the other, as the impossible unfolded. The other Leo spoke first. His voice, it was identical. Cold, steady, terrifyingly calm. "Who are you?" My Leo opened his mouth but no sound came out. His hands shook violently. The stranger tilted his head, studying him the way a predator studies prey. And for one horrifying second, I swear I saw recognition in his eyes. Like he wasn't accusing my Leo of being fake, He believed my brother was the imposter. "Leo," I whispered, barely able to breathe. The silence was unbearable. Then suddenly, my brother stumbled back, gasping like the air itself had turned poisonous. His eyes wide with terror. He bolted, sprinting past me, slamming himself into the car.
"Go, Luna! Now!" he screamed.
I barely had time to jump in before the tires screeched against the pavement. I twisted around to look back, and that thing. The other Leo just stood there, perfectly still, watching us flee. His face, my brother's face, looked almost disappointed. That night in the motel, Leo sat at the edge of the bed, head buried in his hands, whispering over and over, "It wasn't real. Tell me it wasn't real," but we both knew the truth. When he finally looked at me, his eyes were raw with fear. His voice shook. "Luna, they say if you ever meet your double, it means you're going to die." I tried to laugh it off, call it superstition, but the way he stared at me, empty, resigned, made my chest tighten.
He believed it. And worse, deep down, so did I.
The days that followed became a nightmare. Leo started changing. His skin cracked and dried like old parchment. His chest felt heavy like he was suffocating. Doctors were baffled. Some muttered about autoimmune diseases they couldn't identify. I woke at night to find him staring into mirrors, touching his reflection as if to make sure it was still his. Sometimes, when the lights flickered, I'd swear I saw another figure in the glass, lurking just behind him. The worst night was when he jolted awake, screaming so loud I thought he was being murdered.
He clutched me, sobbing.
I saw him again. He was burned ashes, staring at me before he crumbled away. And the cracks in his skin only spread further, faint blood seeping from beneath the surface like fractures in porcelain. He whispered to me once, voice broken, "If I disappear, Luna, maybe I was never supposed to be here." I begged him not to say it. I screamed at him, cried until my throat was raw. But he just smiled weakly. "You've always been stronger than me." And then, he started to heal. Slowly, impossibly, his skin sealed, the cracks fading like they had never been. His body grew stronger. His eyes brighter. Within weeks, he looked healthier than ever. But even as life returned to normal, the question haunted me. If my Leo was here alive, breathing, smiling again, then where was the other one? Months later, we still don't speak of Boise. But sometimes I catch Leo staring into the dark, his expression unreadable. And sometimes, late at night, I feel it too, the weight of that gaze, the other Leo's disappointed eyes locked on us under the buzzing light. I don't know if God fixed his mistake, or if my brother simply fought off his fate. But one thought terrifies me more than anything else. If there are two Leos, then maybe one of them still has to burn. And what keeps me awake at night is the possibility that next time, it won't be him.
It'll be me. Let's start the story.
It was back in 2019, when I was 21. That summer, I was staying at my parents' house, and on a sudden impulse, I decided to go camping deep in the woods behind their backyard. It wasn't a big planned adventure, more of a quick decision. I woke up one morning, threw some gear into a bag, and thought, why not spend a night alone under the trees? This wasn't my first time either. I had camped out there before, so I didn't think much of it. Before leaving, I told my parents where I'd be, and by 4 p.m., I was walking through the thick forest, searching for a spot to set up. After about an hour of hiking, I found an open clearing that looked perfect. I pitched my tent, cleared some space, and lit a small fire. The flames crackled, the air smelled of pine, and the sinking sun painted everything in gold.
It felt peaceful.
Exactly the kind of night I was hoping for. But that peace didn't last. Just as the sun slid past the treetops, I heard it, a voice.
A man's voice.
Low, muttering words I couldn't make out. It wasn't loud, but it carried strangely, almost as if it was echoing through the trees. I froze, trying to place where it was coming from, but the dense shadows and the darkening woods made it impossible. Now, these woods weren't exactly a public trail. They stretched for miles untouched, without any real paths. Running into someone out here wasn't just rare, it was almost impossible. At first, I told myself it was nothing, maybe just someone wandering through. But the voice didn't fade. For 5 long minutes, it lingered, like whoever it was standing still. Watching. Finally, I shouted out a hello. But before I even finished the word, the voice stopped.
Completely.
The forest fell into dead silence.
No footsteps. No rustling. Nothing. The unease set in fast.
I waited, listening, then called out again. Still nothing. Just silence pressing down from every direction.
My stomach tightened.
With maybe 30 minutes of daylight left, I decided not to risk it. I packed up and moved, weaving deeper into the forest, searching for another place to settle. 15 minutes later, with the sunlight vanishing fast, I gave up and picked a spot among the trees. I had no time left. The darkness swallowed everything. I hurried to set up camp, and by the time I finished, the forest was pitch black. The woods felt too quiet, as if even the insects had gone still. Oddly enough, I found some comfort in that silence, telling myself at least I'd hear if someone came close. I built another fire, letting its warmth push away the cold. After a while, I grabbed my snack bag and pulled out marshmallows. I stabbed one onto a stick and held it above the flames. For some reason, roasting marshmallows always gave me this strange sense of calm. The sweet smell, the crackle of fire, it almost made me forget about the voice.
Almost.
I made a couple s'mores and stayed by the fire for hours, letting time slip by. The flames eventually burned low, dimming until only glowing embers remained. That's when the forest truly felt alive again, and I realized, maybe I wasn't as alone out there as I thought. The forest was dim now, twilight swallowed by shadows, but there was still just enough light to see outlines of the trees. That's when I heard it, a sharp crunch of leaves behind me. The sound came from the back left side of my camp. I froze, my eyes darting into the darkness. The second I turned my head in that direction, the noise stopped completely. I called out again, half expecting the same eerie silence as before.
But this time, something changed.
A man suddenly stepped out from the tree line and into the weak glow of my fire. He didn't appear from where I had been staring. He came from the opposite side, almost as if he wanted to catch me off guard. My body jolted, heart hammering, as he smiled faintly and muttered, "Didn't mean to scare you." Before I could react, he strolled forward casually, lowering himself beside my fire like it was his. He extended his hands toward the flames, warming them as if this was his camp, not mine. His presence was wrong. Too comfortable, too deliberate.
Can I help you?
I finally managed, my voice uneven. "I think you're at the wrong campsite."
No.
That was all he said.
No explanation. No clarification.
Just that one word, flat, dismissive, unsettling. The way he answered made my skin crawl. We sat there in silence, the tension so sharp it felt like the air itself could shatter. I didn't know what else to do, so I asked the first question that clawed its way into my head, something I immediately regretted. "Were you the one I heard talking in the woods earlier?" His eyes never left the fire, but his face changed instantly. The false friendliness drained away, replaced by a cold emptiness. His voice dropped, monotone and chilling. Must have been someone else. Every instinct screamed at me that something was terribly wrong. I didn't even get a chance to process it before another sound shattered the moment. Snap. A stick breaking behind me. The exact same place I'd heard the footsteps earlier. My blood ran cold. He wasn't alone. Someone else was here. I spun around, but the shadows were too thick. When I turned back, the man was staring straight into me. I can't even remember if he was smiling or frowning. What burned into my memory was his eyes.
Lifeless. Empty.
Like staring into the gaze of something that shouldn't exist. Without thinking, I bolted upright and sprinted into the trees. Branches whipped my arms as I tore through the darkness. Behind me, I heard one of them shouting, frustrated, angry, then the pounding rhythm of footsteps giving chase. They were after me. But I knew these woods better than anyone. I'd grown up here. Even in the dark, muscle memory guided me. I cut through the trees, heart in my throat, until finally the road appeared ahead. I didn't stop running until I burst through my parents' door, gasping for air. They called 911 immediately. The next morning, I led officers back to the campsite. My tent, my fire pit, everything, gone. Wiped clean, like no one had ever been there. I still don't know if that makes it better or worse. Maybe they only wanted to rob me. Or maybe their intentions were far darker. After all, one of them chased me into the night.
If these stories kept you awake tonight, imagine what the next one will do. Subscribe to Midnight Confessions, and tell me in the comments, what would you do if this happened to you? Your nightmares are just beginning.